you'll need to be patient with me. My name is Moses. You were probably expecting some fearless leader, some living legend. No, just Moses. I am a tired man with a very tired tongue. I thought that growing up in the Pharaoh's palace that being a poor speaker would be my only problem. But that was the least of my worries. You probably heard about the murder. You probably heard about the escape from Egypt and the Red Sea, about the clouds of pillar at night and by day. But the truth is, I think I'm about to die. And if that's true, there's one thing that I want you to know above all things. Moses, a man that is inadequate. I am inadequate in every way. I remember when God called me over to the burning bush. Moses, here I am. He told me that he wanted me to go to the Pharaoh's palace and set his people free. I told him I didn't want to go. I told him to send someone else. You've got the wrong guy. But when God gets an idea in his mind, that's the way it's going to be. I told him, I can't speak to the Pharaoh. Send someone else. But he had made up his mind. He did tell me that I wouldn't be going alone. He sent along with me my sister Miriam and my brother Aaron. And when we arrived at the Pharaoh's palace, I didn't feel like a leader. I didn't look like a leader. I didn't sound like a leader. But then God started to send the plagues, one after another, plague after plague. And if you listened closely, you would hear the Egyptian people actually wonder to themselves if I was the one causing the plagues. Is Moses doing these things? They wondered. So with all of the talk, I couldn't help but begin to gain a little bit of confidence. I wondered if maybe there was something within me that God was going to use to do these amazing things. Maybe I gained too much confidence. Eventually, Pharaoh said that we could go, and so out into the desert we went, to the Red Sea, through the Red Sea, and toward the Promised Land. I don't have time to tell you why we were turned away. But 40 years in the desert is a very long time. And so the people got thirsty, and the livestock were thirsty. And so God told me to strike a rock using my staff. The Egyptians called it the miracle stick. God told me to use my staff and strike the rocks. It just seemed so strange. Why would God have me strike a rock to provide water? But when God makes up his mind, well, that's the way it's going to be. And so I took the stick and I struck the rock. And water flowed. So much water. And the people drank, and the livestock drank. It was wonderful. It was unbelievable, but it was wonderful. We wandered for decades. Sometimes I wondered if we'd ever make it to the Promised Land. And I was getting tired. I was getting older and older. And that confidence that I began to gain in Egypt really grew. And I was frustrated with the Israelites. They were making me mad. Day after day, they would come to me constantly begging for water and begging for food. Can we just go back to Egypt, they would say. And so God, once again, instructed me to speak to the rock. To speak to the rock, and he would make water flow again. And so I gathered the Israelites together and I said, do you want me to provide water for you? Do you want to witness our power again? Do you want us to provide for your needs? Do you want to see our power? And I took the stick and I struck the rock twice. And water flowed. So much water. And everyone drank. The men and women and children and livestock. But I had disobeyed. God reminded me that I was to speak to the rock. And my punishment? Now I can't go into the promised land. Joshua, the young man that I had been mentoring, would now lead the Israelites into the promised land, and I would have to stay behind. It didn't seem like the punishment fit the crime, but when God makes up his mind, well, that's the way it's going to be. We serve a God of second chances. He would continue to use me even though I thought I was done. The Israelites sinned again. That shouldn't be a surprise. The Israelites sinned again, and God sent poisonous snakes. The snakes bit the people, and the people died. And so God instructed me to create a snake out of bronze and then fashion that snake to a pole so that that snake was held up high, and anyone who was bit by a snake could look at the bronze snake and live. It doesn't make any sense. But when God makes up his mind, that's the way it's going to be. It seems so strange. We had been instructed not to make any idols, but I had done that very thing. God wasn't instructing us to look to the idol for hope. He was reminding us that sinners were to look at that which hung on a pole high for all to see. It was a fate that we deserved, to hang on that pole, but when we looked toward the snake and remembered that that's where our sin now lived, sinless we could live. I just don't understand God's ways. So Joshua and the Israelites are about to enter into the promised land. I will be buried with my brother Aaron and my sister Miriam. But I will never understand God's ways. How could he possibly think that looking to anything hanging high on a pole would save people from their sins? But when God makes up his mind, that's the way it's going to be.